Visit a rural clinic, please. Someone who is engaged in such misbehavior at a university hospital is not fit to continue in this role as head of surgery. Stephen, the director's son, has always viewed me as a competition at the university hospital, and now he is accusing me of wrongdoing in front of Harold, the director. That is not what I did at all. Harold would not listen to my protests. In any case, the proof is all here. We'll keep this under wraps since we don't want to make a big deal out of it. But you will have to accept accountability, Kyle. It will send you to a rural place. Not at all. Harold appears committed to demoting me while defending Stephen. Stephen watched me panic and smiled maliciously. Ha ha, Kyle, you can go to Plumfields, you filthy quack. I was thus wrongfully moved from the academic hospital to a small town clinic. However, nobody realized at the time that those who had set me up would have to pay a heavy price. Kyle Turner is my name. I work as a surgeon in a Tokyo University hospital. I was good with my hands and always had a tremendous curiosity to quench my hunger for information, even as a young child. After medical school, I started working in the surgical department. I obtained expertise with a wide range of situations by following a senior physician I liked once I entered the field. I've operated on more than 50,000 patients, and there's talk that I could be the next professor. Patients have nothing but positive things to say about me, and because of word of mouth, I receive referrals from patients from both nearby and rural hospitals. Consequently, I've been given the responsibility of leading surgery. It's somewhat unexpected, Dr. Turner, that the patients you operated on have been getting out of bed early. The head nurse of the surgical ward, Rachel, grinned and said, "They also discharge quickly, so the bed turnover rate is excellent, which really helps us." I'm grateful. Yes, it is usually preferable for patients to be released from the hospital earlier. Because of the small incisions and minimal bleeding, my procedures are renowned for being precise and swift. I've been doing a lot of endoscopic procedures lately, which cuts down on the length of hospital stay. As the chief of surgery, I have to take into account the number of surgeries and bed turnover rates. Nevertheless, in my situation, these metrics improved on their own as a result of my focus on giving patients less onerous medical treatment. To put it briefly, my standing increased. Inadvertently, though, the director's son, Stephen Scott, is the one who dislikes me. As the son of the director, Stephen grew up spoiled and has some decent skills. However, his attitude towards patients and staff is haughty, and he is frequently the target of complaints. Dr. Turner, natally in room 2, has asked to switch from Dr. Scott to you as her main care physician. She responded, Dr. Scott doesn't listen to her at all, and his attitude is terrible when asked why. He also attempted to coerce her into taking a novel, experimental medication. She vehemently objected, but he threatened to treat her badly nonetheless. What should we do? Looking worried, Rachel inquired. There are never-ending complaints about Stephen. I understand. I'll discuss it with Stephen. Stephen would not even listen to me if I were to gently criticize him. Aha! You'll never get somewhere by listening to the old patients whine in his shared room. I'm being nice and offering them a new medicine, and they have the audacity to say no. How conceited of those impoverished people. He said that the envy of the less fortunate patients was the real issue, not his fault. How he reads things to come to such a domineering conclusion is beyond me. By the way, Kyle, I heard you met with the pharmaceutical company's sales representative about the experimental drug the other day. Yes, they came to collect last month's data, so I spoke with them briefly as they were leaving. Oh, you just grab the credit for yourself and let us handle the data collection. Typical Kyle. Claiming credit for me alone is inequitable. The trial involves my patients as well. Verifying the data and reporting the findings makes sense. Well, if you say so. Stephen said something suspicious and walked away for the time being, but I didn't really notice because that was normal for him. But Harold called me one day and made some ridiculous accusations. One sweltering summer's afternoon, I received a notice to report to the director's office. Stephen and Harold were in the director's office when I opened the door. Kyle, I had high hopes for you, but this time you've done something unforgivable. Harold, I'm not sure what you mean. Stephen interrupted, perplexed by the abrupt charge. We already know that you have been illegally using experimental drugs and inflating data, and that you received money from the pharmaceutical company's sales representative as a cooperation fee. What? What topic are you discussing? I have never behaved in this way. Actually, Stephen has been attempting to employ experimental medications against the patient's will. I went straight to Harold, but Stephen was grinning twistedly next to him. No. Both the pharmaceutical salesperson and the clinical coordinator have attested that you intimidated them into participating. Kyle, I would never commit such fraud. Anyhow, the proof is all here. We do not wish to overly emphasize this. You'll have to accept accountability in silence. Not at all. Naturally, I would never act in such a way. This is obviously a bogus claim and plot by Stephen. That's why those in poverty might be problematic. You cheated to obtain money, exploited it to win people over, and rose to the top. A poor incompetent like you ought to just go back to the country and work on a farm. I was consequently forced to transfer from the academic hospital to a small town clinic. My demotion became widely known. I've heard about it, Dr. Turner. What an incredible injustice this is. The surgical ward's head nurse, Kimberly, stated angrily. That being said, it would be disastrous if Kimberly and the nurses were let go if I publicly opposed Harold. I didn't want to be the source of their problems. I'm grateful. I'm just glad you think well of me. I see this as a chance to take stock of myself in a clean, open environment. Kimberly looks dejected, Dr. Turner, and the other nurses gave me a somber face the day I was discharged from the university hospital. The doctors and nurses who did not belong to Stephen's faction, as well as the patients, were sorry to see me go. I sobbed silently in the car on the way to the remote clinic, so that no one could hear me. My new office was situated upstream of a river and between two well-known mountain ranges. It may sound idyllic, but there were only a few hundred people living in this hiking region, hot springs, and inns. Fewer than the beds at the university hospital. The clinic employed a late 20-year-old nurse named Sophia and an elderly physician named Nick. Nick had a fairly easygoing demeanor, frequently engaging in one-hour conversations with people and generally lacking drive. Sophia barely said more than was absolutely required and sat silently in the waiting area, her chin resting on her hand as she watched TV. The clinic was quite quiet because most of the patients were there for minor injuries, stomachaches, or colds. Nick and Sophia would enjoy tea and nibbles on days when it was raining and no patients visited. After working in the fast-paced culture of a university hospital, I found the laid-back atmosphere to be nearly intolerable. Are there any patients today? Sophia answered with a frustrated expression. This isn't a university hospital in the city, when I questioned her. HHH is a symbol of harmony. You should not wish for additional patients just because you're bored. Furthermore, you cannot treat people on your own, even if they do come. It appeared that I was untrusted to treat patients as a medical professional demoted from a university hospital. Oh, staying here won't accomplish anything. Having such thought, I made the decision to leave the clinic and go to the village. Excuse me, I'm stepping out for a bit. All right, take care. They exchanged resigned looks with one another as I walked out of the clinic. Hi. Nick, what is the expected duration of Dr. Turner's life? I'll bet $100 on 1 month. I think 1 month is the limit too. As I stepped outside the clinic, I was overcome with admiration at the breathtaking view before me. Wow, the river water really looks drinkable. The azure sky was emphasized by the river's brilliance and reflection of the mountains. The water was evidently clean because it was transparent all the way to the bottom. The spaces between the houses were abnormally large as one descended the mountain trail toward them. Without a car, the trip to the clinic was a strenuous undertaking because the closest dwelling was many miles distant. I observed almost no young people. All of them were elderly. Hello. The first peasant nodded in surprise when I called out to him. Oh, so you plan on going hiking? You don't seem really prepared for that. No. I only started working here at the clinic 2 days ago. Kyle is my name. You're the new physician, I see. I appreciate you traveling to this far-off place, but you won't be here for long, will you? I've lost count of the number of doctors that have come and gone from this place. They go quickly. Is that accurate? But you shouldn't fear because I want to assist everyone. Are you having trouble with anything? Well, I've had a bad back for a while now. Hey, back pain. Would you mind if I looked at this, please? I then began going door to door in the village, saying hello and inquiring about people's well-being. I was shocked to learn that the community was supporting one another and that a large number of elderly individuals living far from the clinic needed care. I made a commitment to see those who were obviously ill on a frequent basis. It may surprise you that they don't visit the clinic despite their poor health, but trekking many miles over the mountain paths can be rather challenging for senior persons with physical ailments. House calls are occasionally requested by neighbors or family members, but by then, the symptoms are frequently severe. In theory, I was employed by the clinic, so throughout the day, I made house calls for anyone who needed therapy. I chose to go to their residences following clinic hours. From that point on, I would leave for the village as soon as clinic hours were over. Nick and Sophia were drinking tea and looked perplexed that I still hadn't given up. Yes, a month has passed since Dr. Turner's visit. At first, he seemed bored, but now, oddly excited, and he doesn't seem to be about to give up, Sophia said bitterly. Nick laughed and retorted, well, who knows? Perhaps Kyle is going too far. He's been working on side projects and tinkering with some equipment in the back room. These days youth are unmotivated and give up easily when they get bored. They lack persistence. Are you talking about Dr. Turner? Said a villager who had overheard their chat while getting medicine for a family member. You're wrong, Nick. Dr. Turner spends his evenings visiting rural homes. Kyle is one. Yes, an elderly man at Sean's house choked on some meal just the other day. Dr. Turner was there, thankfully, and kept things from getting worse. Are you serious? Many times, people put off getting checked out because they have difficulty walking or because the clinic closes after they get off work. We greatly appreciate your house calls because of this. I understand. What Nick and Sophia learned from the villager took them by surprise. Although the villagers frequently bemoaned the hardship of traveling to the clinic, they believed that those who chose not to go were not in need of care. Nick unexpectedly started talking to me when I got to the clinic the following day. I heard you've been visiting village houses lately. Indeed. A lot of folks find it difficult to go up to the clinic. When I visited, I discovered that a large number of patients had diabetes and high blood pressure that were untreated. I reasoned that seeing them in person would be preferable to allowing their situation to deteriorate. You're a peculiar one. Nick suddenly turned his face away. It seems that someone had noticed my visits to the homes of the villagers. I expected to be reprimanded, but I didn't. Since then, I've been permitted to leave early for house calls on days when there aren't many patients. As I was getting used to village life, one day, there was a report that a TV station was heading to this well-known hiking location. Since they were shot once or twice a year, the villagers were accustomed to TV crews. Unaware of the extent of TV coverage pertaining to hiking, I inquired with Sophia, who possessed media knowledge. I take it that TV crews may only access the trailhead via car. Yes, they must transport bulky gear. I might go a hike on my own the next day off. Sophia gave me a sidelong glance when I indicated that I liked to hike, saying, Dr. Turner, don't underestimate hiking. Someone as thin as you is incapable of managing it. I smiled sardonically at Sophia's comment and left the clinic to begin my afternoon house calls. I was becoming used to village life now, and the slow, unhurried pace of time no longer caused me to experience strange worry. It felt good to be able to approach people how I wanted. It was pouring rain when I went outside after concluding a test at a residence at the base of the mountain. Whoa, it doesn't seem like this will end anytime soon. I'm happy I had my rain gear with me. The weather in the mountains can change abruptly. Although it was sunny just now, unexpected rain is usual in this area. It rains a lot, and during the last 3 months, I had become accustomed to the weather. I made the decision to return to the clinic because it is unsafe to go around in the rain. I saw there was a landslide blocking the familiar trail as I ran along it. How is a landslide possible? If so, I have to return and make a call to the police. I observed someone wave their hand furiously ahead at that very moment. Someone please assist. The landslide caught our group, and several of my friends were hurt. How come? How many individuals have been apprehended? Surprised, I asked. The woman, who appeared to be from a TV crew, claimed that out of the 10 persons present, she was the only one who survived the landslide. I could see 1 person laying at the bottom of the slope, 2 in the middle, and 6 on the opposite side of the landslide, despite the rain's terrible visibility. I made quick calls to the police station, the ambulance, and the clinic before rushing with a female crew member to the other side of the landslide. Upon examining the individuals laying there, it was found that while the majority had exterior injuries and bruises, none of them looked to be in critical condition. The individuals who were lying below were the issue. It was possible that they were seriously injured and losing body heat. Rescue was a race against time in this rain. Is this where the landslide is? Tell me the circumstances. Paramedics and police officers Nick and Sophia arrived one after the other at the site. I rushed to the bottom of the slope to rescue the man and told Nick and Sophia about the 6 individuals on the side. It was difficult for the 2 people laying in the middle to move independently due to many fractures in their arms, legs, and ribs. These 2 appear to have serious fractures. They are unable to move on their own. Stretchers are needed. I yelled as I moved closer to the man below. This man had deep scrapes and bruises all over his body, and he was still partially buried in the dirt. He was bleeding and had several external injuries. He was breathing shallowly, barely awake, and in critical need of medical assistance. We need assistance clearing this area of mud, as well as a stretcher, a set of hemologic instruments, and an emergency kit. I alerted the nearby fire department and paramedics. I continued to encourage the man while attempting to use the instruments I had on hand to stem the bleeding and give fluids. Are you all right? There will be assistance soon. Keep going. It aches. I am at my breaking point. That is untrue. Give this to my daughter if I am unable to make it. He handed me a plastic bag with a picture of a blue bee that was captured in these highlands. Those who witness a blue bee are thought to have good luck. This is an uncommon bee that only occurs in the mountains and gathers in the fall when the Japanese mature. It's an uncommon species in the nation. I recalled that young female hikers had only started to take an interest in it. It's likely that he snapped the picture at his daughter's request. Give this to the blue bee if you see her. Remind her to be joyful. It appeared as though he was asking me to give his daughter the picture and message in case something happened to him, but I was not going to allow that to happen. If he lived, he would present his daughter with the picture himself. You are going to present your daughter with this picture personally. Fear not. I'll save you. Really? Could you please save me? I'll do that. Please trust me. Please persevere. Assistance is on the way. We pulled the man out of the dirt with the assistance of the local fire department and paramedics, but his leg was openly fractured. There was a lot of bleeding. At that moment, we got a call saying he might be taken to the town's general hospital, which was about an hour's journey away. But getting him to the hospital would take too long, and his condition was too serious to risk missing 2 hours of travel time. That is not acceptable. Nick, is there a back operating room I can use? I inquired. You may proceed, but that room isn't set up for a proper functioning. I'm not even sure whether the machines will function correctly because it hasn't been maintained in a long time. It's all right. Just in case, I've been performing some maintenance. I am proficient with every tool. Permit me to utilize it, please. It turned out that I had found an abandoned operating room at the back of the clinic, where I checked the machines and eventually got them back in working order. So that's what Kyle was doing on a daily basis in secret. Sophia is able to help you if such is the case. Sophia worked as a surgical nurse in a Tokyo University hospital until the previous year. She'll perform admirably. I'm counting on you, Sophia, so it's okay. Indeed, Nick. Here, the locals will assist. They all gathered because they stated they wanted to help you, Dr. Turner, who always looks out for them. Retired nurses who once worked at the district's general hospital are members of the local women's association. They work in agriculture and volunteer locally. Please let us know if you need anything at all. With dependable smiles akin to maternal ones, the women from the organization remarked, "You can count on us. We're like a big ship." Many thanks for that. Nick, who used to be a surgical specialist, expertly stitched up the injured as the firefighters and others attended to the other victims. Let's get going. Indeed. The remainder happened quite swiftly. Working on the fracture site first, I sutured the other injuries before starting the procedure on the man with the open leg fracture. Typically, Sophia and I would manage a process that would take 4 to 5 personnel, including an anesthesiologist, with efficiency, completing the treatment in a little over an hour. Wow, that moved quickly. Sophia was astounded by my efforts. I helped with the remaining patients after returning to Nick and leaving the post-operative care to Sophia. Kyle, are you done with the operation already? Indeed. This was the best we could do here, but we could have finished it sooner with better tools and more personnel. Quicker? What is the average duration of your operations? Nick was amazed at how quickly I could suture. All the patients had received treatment by the time the ambulance from the general hospital at the base of the mountain arrived. The individuals with fractures and the man who underwent surgery were taken to the general hospital. Those with minor injuries, just in case, were billeted in a nearby inn and would be checked over again tomorrow before being taken by van to town. Dr. Turner, you performed a truly remarkable surgery. Even at the university hospital, I've never witnessed such productive work. My helper Sophia went over everything that transpired during the procedure with Nick. Nick listened to her and then looked at me seriously. You must have many brains to complete that procedure in 1 hour while controlling anesthesia and monitoring. In my younger years, I performed a lot of procedures, but I couldn't do that. It would not surprise me in the slightest if you were named the greatest physician in Japan. Who exactly are you? I didn't know how to react to Kyle's surprise. I told these two the story of my relegation from University Hospital because I felt like I could trust them. I gave an explanation of how Harold and Stephen singled me out, accusing me of stealing bribes and falsifying data related to experimental drugs. This unfair circumstance made me accept responsibility and resulted in my transfer to this clinic. I was the surgical chief. I was well liked by patients and did a lot of procedures. I had referrals from all over, and I was thought of as a possible replacement for the current professor. Stephen was extremely angry with me. He intended to get rid of me ahead of time because the professor selection will be held in a few years. He wrongly accused me for this reason, which resulted to my expulsion from University Hospital. What a terrible situation. My story stunned Nick to no end. However, I now enjoy this clinic. I now understand that practicing medicine isn't limited to university hospitals. I can treat patients anywhere, in any situation, as long as I'm driven. With confidence, I added, but Nick shook his head slowly. Kyle, no. You're too good to be in this place. Young doctors who made trouble at university hospitals have found refuge in this clinic. We've only had genuine troublemakers so far. They snapped, claiming they couldn't work in such a remote location, and hurled tantrums. You, however, are unique. You ought not to be in this situation given your knowledge and abilities. Numerous patients genuinely require your skills. You ought to go back to where your abilities are most required. Though I didn't want to go back to where the people who had framed me were, Nick's statements made sense. Sophia observed us with a puzzled look on her face. The examination room was suddenly filled with a profound quiet. The door was then knocked on. It was the TV crew woman, and I invited her in. Many thanks for saving our employees. Our lives were spared by all of you. We're not sure what would have happened in your absence. My mentor is the patient who Dr. Turner operated on. He has looked after me like family ever since I started working at the TV station. I doubt I could have handled the shame of being the only one spared if he hadn't lived. As she spoke, tears filled her eyes. I'm really grateful to you. I heard you talking to someone earlier. Are there any ways that we can assist? Please allow us to be of any assistance to you. She made a deep bow. I'm grateful. I'm happy that you feel that way, but I simply did what any doctor would do. I'll ask for support without hesitation if we need it. Please relax with the others for the time being. Yes, thank you. Sincerely relieved that I had saved her and her coworkers, I felt. Until now, treating patients was a required aspect of my job, regardless of the number of patients I handled. Even if the landslide was unintentional, it seemed really lucky that, by cooperating and using the limited resources available, we were able to save a large number of individuals in this location. Nick was sitting in silence in the clinic, sipping tea, and thinking as I was thinking about this. I had no idea that Nick was formulating a remarkable scheme. Nick invited me to go to his old haunt in Tokyo, saying he wanted to see it following the landslide disaster around a month ago. He stated he required my help since he hadn't gone to Tokyo in a long. Taking his assurances at its value, I accompanied Nick to Tokyo. I was shocked to learn that the university hospital, where I used to work, was his former hangout. Nick stormed into the director's office without saying a word. Stephen and Harold were standing there. For me, the atmosphere in the room was a frigid snowstorm. What has led you to this place? How could you leave that small clinic and find your way back without getting lost? Harold was sarcastic in his opening remarks to Nick. Well, I had an excellent guide, Kyle, so I could get here even with my eyes closed. Oh, you think this dropout is great, even though he made a major mistake here. Kyle, you've matured. I advise you to return to the nation as soon as possible to avoid embarrassing yourself anymore. Bewildered by the abrupt back and forth, I observed Nick taking a confident stride ahead. I'm here today to expose all the wrongdoings you two have been involved in. What? Are you crazy? This is absurd, but I was wondering why you and your son-in-law called me here. Make a security call. Wait, son-in-law. I watched the exchange, and my mind's puzzle pieces started to fit together. Nick, are you Professor Nicholas Sullivan, the former director of this hospital and Harold's father-in-law? What? I didn't bring that up. No, you didn't. My face went pale as I remembered my earlier rudeness. Nick had served as this university hospital's director previously. I thought the old doctor was a rather unenthusiastic man, but in reality, he was an excellent surgical professor. I recognized the likeness, having seen him a few times in the hallways when I was younger. It was only now that his surroundings had completely changed that I realized who he was. Professor Sullivan, often known as Nick, was well known for being a shining example of a doctor, in contrast to his son-in-law Harold. He was a trailblazer who attempted to bring cutting-edge medical practices into local healthcare. He finally left the university, although, because his ideas were not widely embraced at the time. Harold went to grab the phone so he could call security while we were making a row. If anyone is getting thrown out by security, it's you two, Nick hurriedly said. I have conducted my own independent investigation on Kyle's discharge from this hospital. The accusations made against him were found to be wholly untrue. Stephen responded this time. That is untrue. The misbehavior of Kyle is real. The clinical coordinator and the pharmaceutical salesperson have both provided testimonials. Those were forced testimonies. Stephen allegedly threatened the coordinator and the sales representative to believe the fake narrative, or else they wouldn't participate in any more drug studies, according to their testimony. Stephen gritted his teeth in frustration at hearing this. And Harold, you were aware of Stephen's wrongdoing and purposefully assisted Kyle in framing him in order to hide it. I take it that you're in good standing with the pharmaceutical company. You were worried that looking into Stephen might reveal your own wrongdoing. Nick turned to face Harold at this point. Stop being absurd. You've always had a vivid imagination, but as you've gotten older, it's gotten worse. I have no time for illusions like yours. Return right away to the countryside. No, you are the one who is going to step down. When the new drug is approved, the pharmaceutical company has been offering you significant bribes in exchange for bulk orders of the drug. That's corruption. You have no power to frighten me. Not only are you trying to put the blame on me, there are discrepancies in the financial records for equipment such as endoscopes. Where was the difference lost? I have heard that you recommended Stephen for the next professorship by sending expensive presents to the board members. Is it possible to track down where the money came from? Harold raised his voice out of nowhere, realizing he was cornered. Do you possess evidence? I'll file a defamation lawsuit against you if these are untrue charges. Nick took the big bag I was holding for him, anticipating this reply. Really? Here's the proof, if you need it. Nick hurled a pile of papers onto the surface. They contained video recordings of their covert meetings, call logs between Stephen and the clinical coordinator, evidence of his wrongdoing, and bank records of illicit transactions. There were also copies of the pharmaceutical company's contracts, as well as payment slips and invoices for purchases of medical equipment. Harold worried and exclaimed, "Hey, Stephen, you said there wouldn't be any evidence." How? How is it possible? What? Sweat pouring down his back and feeling overpowered by the overwhelming amount of unquestionable facts, Stephen stammered. Everything was collected by volunteers and personnel who value Kyle. This demonstrates their admiration for him. How about the two of you? Your reputations are appalling. You treat patients in shared rooms with contempt and charge exorbitant prices for private rooms. You treat patients without any sympathy. A hospital is meant to be a place of healing and assistance for those in need. A doctor's duties include listening to patients, treating them, and determining the problems from minor symptoms. Wasn't her main goal at this hospital to just make money? And with such views, you became the head of surgery and the director. I'm completely repulsed. Did you have to drive me away because this was what you really wanted to do? Nick sighed deeply and went on, looking a little dejected. Are you unaware of how much the reputation of this hospital has declined? Physicians ought to be compassionate individuals who want to save lives. It is inappropriate to prioritize personal benefit alone. Have you overlooked such a fundamental idea? It's abhorrent. I'm the director right now. You don't have to lecture me. Harold answered with a yell. You're still not really understanding. You're going to leave this hospital. Ha! You really believe you can accomplish that? Yes, exactly as you did when you took me out 10 years ago. You made up allegations of my wrongdoing and forced the board to decide on a no-motion motion against me. So I applied the same technique. I reported your misbehavior to the board, and their approval has already been granted. Now, what are you going to do? Harold was taken aback. The board also requests that Stephen be expelled and Harold resign as director. They will legally report the wrongdoing to the police if you resist. They're also ready to present the proof to the press. What are you going to do, as we are filming everything in this room right now? The two were forced to acknowledge their remorse when they realized that their transgressions might be revealed to the public. But Stephen, unsatisfied yet, gave me a hateful glance. Stephen, why did you become a doctor? I know you don't like me. To depress me or to save patients. If the latter, was it fun for you to frame me? I had a great experience in that village because of the lovely surroundings, clean air, friendly locals, and caring patients. Everyone worked together and led sincere lives. I never felt as satisfied as I do now as a physician, even after doing thousands of procedures at the university hospital. I came to the conclusion that patient gratitude and smiles are worth more than cash. One day, hopefully, you'll discover something more significant than wealth or prestige. Stephen's shoulders dropped at what I said. Hey, For how long have I been doing this? I am merely a clown performing in a sandcastle. Stephen turned to face Nick and started talking passionately. Since I was a young child, I have admired you, grandfather. Everyone looked up to you as a wonderful doctor, and I aspired to be just like you. However, that picture was altered when I became a doctor. You didn't care about the hospital administration. You just wanted the medical attention you needed. My father's efforts were the driving force behind the hospital's financial recovery. Even if you showed me that hospital administration is more than simply values, I still had admiration for you. I started to get resentful of Kyle, someone who shared your values, over time, and now look at me. I have lost all sense of what is good and wrong. With a silent mutter, Stephen walked out of the director's office, his head bowed. Nick sighed deeply as he observed Stephen's receding body. That boy can't seem to decide between his two values. He needs some alone time to think and grow. His smile was melancholy when he stated this. Nick then led me to a sizable conference room. The board members, who included executives and professors, were inside. Nick showed me to be innocent there, and we agreed that I would go back to the university hospital. The board restored Nick to his position as hospital director, replacing Harold. The board's ruling also resulted in the removal of the doctors who had sided with Stephen and participated in the misbehavior. Harold was sacked and then kicked out of the university hospital. Then Nick gave me the job of acting director and promised to get back to the rural clinic soon. That's unfair, Nick. I want to go back to that clinic as well. Oh, Kyle, you enjoy the countryside. So how about we get a big regional healthcare project started right here? Really? If that's the case, I would be thrilled to participate. We chose to establish a comprehensive visiting physician program in rural areas without access to healthcare. It grew into a significant project with local government involved. We ran mobile clinics using digital technology, offering routine examinations and consultations in isolated locations. Additionally, we turned an abandoned school's playground into a helipad for the deployment of emergency medical helicopters. With video calls from the city, I can now simply greet everyone in the village. I communicate with Sophia from the clinic on a regular basis. Dr. Turner, when will you be returning? Well, I believe I can make it this weekend. Fantastic. Irene promised to provide us with an abundance of delectable alpine veggies. Let's have a party with tempura. That sounds good. I now make frequent trips from Tokyo to the outlying clinic. While hiking up the mountain one day with Sophia, we came across a swarm of the elusive blue bees feeding on the Japanese agate. Oh my goodness, Dr. Turner. Bluish bees, they're so adorable. You're accurate. They seem even more stunning and are smaller than in the photos. When Sophia finally saw the elusive blue bees, she looked very cute and extraordinarily delighted. I responded, perhaps happiness will find us too. Sophia smiled and blushed as I said that. Dr. Turner, I'm already so happy to have you here. That also brings me joy. Yes, this is happiness, in fact. We exchanged glances before laughing. It was a wet day, and I was really thrilled just then. Based on their experience, the TV team that we saved from the landslide produced a documentary called The Miracle of the Highland Clinic. They described me as a physician who helped sanitize the hospital and revitalize local healthcare. I became known as a great physician as a result, and the administration of the university hospital much improved. Although money is needed to revitalize regional healthcare, thankfully we were able to stay out of the red. I'm putting in a lot of effort and balancing jobs at a university hospital in Tokyo and in regional healthcare. It's interesting because compared to when I was solely employed by the university hospital, I feel less anxious now. I believe it's because the contacts with the villagers calm my emotions and the country air is just right for me. While many people have different goals in life, such as wealth, celebrity, or prestige, as a doctor I want to serve people and engage with as many people as possible. While saving lives is unavoidable, receiving gratitude from people I've assisted actually makes me happy and inspires me. I wish to freely share my ideas and sentiments of thankfulness because of this. Expressing thanks should come naturally to you. Else, the other person won't be able to sense it. I want to bring healthcare to everyone, regardless of where they live, and I'll keep working hard to get there.